Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to go over how to calculate material variances within a standard cost system. So before I begin, a standard cost system is going to compare actuals to your standards. So you're going to decipher at the end whether your actual compared to your standard was favorable or unfavorable. And that will help management make better decisions on how they're running their factory. Okay, so before we begin, I would like for you to write down this equation. Okay, so AC times AQ, and you have the middle, SC times AQ, and here's the last part, SC times SQ. All right, AC stands for actual cost. Other textbooks might say actual price, but your textbook calls it actual cost. This stands for actual quantity. This is standard cost, again, actual quantity. This is standard cost, and then finally standard quantity. Next, I want you to put brackets. So from actual cost to actual quantity, standard cost to standard quantity, that will give you your cost variance. Another bracket, completely separate. You're going to bracket off these to the middle to the end, and that will give you your efficiency variance. I find it much easier to write that equation before I start analyzing problems, because by the time I test, the question might be asking, what is the direct materials cost variance? Well, your equation will be different than what is the calculate the direct materials efficiency variance. Okay? All right. I'm going to break it down the same as the lab, but again, I like to write that equation just to keep the analysis separate. You don't have to do it. If you're able to do it the same way as the lab and the publisher, that's fine. Just make sure you're using the right equation. All right. Here's the problem that we're going to go over. Martin Incorporated is a manufacturer of lead crystal glasses. The standard, right there, it's telling you the standard. The standard direct materials quantity is 1.0 pound per glass at a cost of 50 cents per pound. All right, so when I start problems, I take notes. The standard quantity is 1.0 pound per glass, and the cost is 50 cents per pound. I read on. The actual result for 1 month's production of 6,500 glasses, well, that's actual. So I write actual, and I have a note that they produced 6,500 glasses. The quantity, the per pound was 1.2 pounds per glass, and the cost is 30 cents per pound. This is actual. All right, now we're going to start working on our equation. So I'm going to go back to this, and I'm just going to show you the way that you would break this down the same as the lab. All right, so the first question, calculate the direct materials cost variance. Well, I need from here to here. So so actual quantity, right? That's exactly the same. So I am going to take actual cost, and then I'm going to compare it to standard cost, so I'm going to subtract that. And then I'm going to multiply it by the actual quantity. All right, so now I just input my numbers. The actual cost was 30 cents. The standard cost was 50 cents. Okay? I analyze it before I even begin. My actual was 30 cents. That's what it cost me. My standard, or my estimate, was 50 cents. That's good. That means it cost me less. So now I'm going to take this. So 0.30 times 0.50 gives me 0.20. And then I'm going to multiply that by the actual quantity. And the actual quantity was 6,500. However, we have to figure out the quantity is 1.2 pounds per glass. So that is 7,800 actual pounds. I take my 0.20 times 7,800, and that equals 1,560. Now remember, I already told you this is going to be favorable. All right, so your answer is 1,560 favorable. Next, we're going to calculate the direct materials efficiency variance. Now, we're going to go over here, and this is the equation. So what am I comparing? I'm comparing actual quantity to standard quantity. So actual quantity minus standard quantity. Okay? And then I'm going to multiply that by the standard cost. Now I just input my numbers. The actual quantity was 7,800. I subtract out my standard quantity. Okay, let me show you how to get the standard quantity. So it's 1.0 pounds per glass. Okay, and how much did they produce? They produced 6,500. So 6,500 times 1.0. Let me just write that over to the side. 6,500 times 1.0 gives me 6,500. That's my standard quantity. I input that number in. Okay. Again, eye it before you begin. You can tell it's favorable or unfavorable right now. My actual quantity was 7,800. That was actual. I estimated that I would use 6,500. That's bad. I used more than what I estimated, so my answer will be unfavorable. Now I take it and I multiply it by my standard cost, which is 50 cents. Okay, so do out the math. 7,800 minus 6,500 times 50 cents gives me $650. And remember, that's unfavorable. Okay? All right, so that's how you do the materials variances. Let me talk to you just a few minutes about first off, who's responsible for which area. So the direct materials cost variance, that will be the purchasing manager, the person that's in charge of purchasing the materials. So they are responsible for this area. Well, what could happen? Well, we saw that. Maybe they got a deal. They worked out, they purchased a lot from this particular company, and it ended up costing them less. It could also be that they chose a different supplier. It could be many reasons, but the bottom line is management wants to understand, even if it's favorable, they still want to investigate what happened. All right, who's responsible for the efficiency variance? That's going to be the production manager, person who's in charge of producing that product. So this is unfavorable. Well, what could have happened? Well, it could be that they hired some new employees who aren't as efficient. It could be the purchasing manager's fault. It could be that the purchasing manager bought cheaper products. So when you're buying cheaper products, there's a lot of mistakes in that, or it's cheap and it keeps breaking down. So just different reasons, and again, that is why management is going to want to investigate that. All right, so that's how you do the materials variance. I'll have separate videos for other types of variances. See you soon.